Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'm exploring Madagascar, one of the biggest island nations in the world, just off the coast of Africa. Madagascar used to be colonized by the French, and before that had a very rich history in terms of different kingdoms, things like that, tribes conquering each other. Some of the kingdoms used basically forced labor or labor that was statute labor to build paddy fields, to build various very interesting buildings in the capital, Antananarivo, I think it's the name. I'm not going to try to pronounce that again. Here are some of the paddy fields that I found. I actually remember now seeing these paddy fields in other videos, especially in the Malaysia one, not realizing what they were. I think these are paddy fields, as far as I understand, for rice and whatnot. And there's a lot of irrigation works as well that would have been done throughout history, but also, I suppose, in later times. But a lot of infrastructure in this country. And this video is going to be primarily looking at some of the geography really from these maps, because I saw some very beautiful things. One thing in the capital here, we have a big airport strip. We have these very interesting, this interesting lake, but also these interesting little units here. I don't know, is that for fishing or is that for maybe artificially raising fish inside these little pods? I haven't really understood what they are, but I wanted to kind of show them to you because I thought they looked interesting. Other things I saw in the capital was this really long network of rivers. And when I followed the rivers out, I came into the countryside and saw these interesting hill forts. That's what they are, in my opinion. Kind of hilltops with little rings around them, almost as a defensive measure. Perhaps from the past, in Ireland, we have these hill forts that look a bit similar to these. My guess is that that is what these are. They just seem too specific, unless they have some sort of ritual kind of, yeah, background. I can't say exactly, but yeah, I thought they were quite interesting. I wanted to show them to you as well, because it's just dotted with them. I mean, the further south we go on this trajectory, loads of different rings. I thought that was pretty cool. These river networks are really interesting as well. If I jump back to the towards the capital, and I close up some of these, that's further down the river. That's just outside the city. So here is the city itself again, to the east, and there's a lot of these water networks. There's the airport again. If we follow some of these rivers along, there's rivers and then there's canals, and they kind of run side by side. So that there, I think, is a combination of canal and river work, like 1, 2, 3 in a row. And when you follow them along, you'll see just how much infrastructural work has been going on here to make this work. These here again, direct canal there. These water systems don't really flow that well out to the sea. When you follow this along, at some point it turns into a bigger and bigger river, but then it turns into like rapids where there isn't really much opportunity to send a big boat along. Like it turns into this sort of thing here. Now that might still be just about possible to get through there, but it gets worse and worse as we go out. Now it does get very beautiful as well. It isn't just purely the practical side of it that I'm looking at, but in terms of actually sending big shipping along this river, I wonder how practical it really is. This is, remember, the capital has the most people in the country. I'll show you in a minute a map of the demographics and also the population density. But that there, in my opinion, I don't think you're going to get a boat through that. So it seems to me like that city, you're only reaching it by rail. When the French had power in Madagascar, they used, again, kind of forced labor or statute labor to produce railway networks. I don't know if forced labor is exactly the correct word, because that sounds like slavery, but definitely there was these schemes where the government was employing people. Whether it was as slavery or as actual employment, I didn't entirely check. Let's quickly Google that. I don't like to make statements that aren't entirely correct. But it was somewhere along here. Let's see. The Marina Royal tradition, of taxes paid in the form of labor was continued under the French and used to construct a railway and roads linking key coastal cities to the capital. So taxes paid in the form of labor. Yeah, that's kind of open to interpretation whether that's yeah, quite something we have today anyway. We don't have taxes paid in the form of labor in the West for sure, but back then it was part of the royal tradition. Let's see. Let's just do a very quick Google. Did France have slavery in Madagascar? Legitimate commerce initially spurred the slave trade, strengthened calls for French intervention. The French authorities abolished slavery in Madagascar. Okay, good. I just wanted to have that clear. I didn't want to be making a false statement. So, paid in the form of taxes. Interesting. Kind of mixed messages there, I have to say. Let's go back to here for a moment. I want to show you further upstream. The river gets very beautiful and turns into like these sort of pictures where you see like lovely different colors. We have these kind of deltas and sands, and it goes through different rock formations. And the river gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually it reaches the sea, and we have these beautiful shapes here again, a bit of a delta. Really, really wonderful. But again, probably quite useless for navigating all the way into the capital. That's the where it goes into the sea, and the city itself is like way down here. So it's a very long river network. You can kind of see the shape of it along there. Yeah, you can kind of see the lines quite clearly, and all these big kind of sandy, rocky areas where the water flows through. I thought that was just very beautiful. I wanted to show it to you on the video. Let me close up some of these to save my computer. Um, Oh, yeah, that's in mine. We'll get to that later. There are some more paddy fields again. Again, very important part of the economy. And we will go through, let's look at that now for a moment, the different things that are being exported. So we have coffee, vanilla, shellfish, sugar, cotton, clothing, chromite, petroleum products. So there is a bit of mining going on. We'll look at the mine in a minute. But yeah, we have that coffee, vanilla, shellfish, sugar, cotton, a lot of raw materials being exported, meaning that their export to import ratio is actually quite close because they're exporting kind of raw things and bringing back consumer goods. So in terms of the value chain, they're kind of selling out things at a cheaper price and buying them back at processed, more expensive ways. We're looking at capital goods, consumer goods, food from various countries. France being a very big player there in both the export and the import partnership. That clearly hasn't changed despite the end of colonization. So there are very strong links still there. Um, let's quickly move on to the mines, maybe. There was a volcano I wanted to show you too, but it didn't look that interesting, unfortunately. There are volcanoes on the island, but they weren't as dramatic as you might think. Let's look at this mine. This mine is in the southeast. It's about, roughly, it's about down here. A lot of controversy about this mine. Can I find it with my eyes? Yeah, there it is. A lot of controversy. There's a very big kind of mining pond area. Here it is. Yeah, this apparently there's been uranium found in the water, and they've kind of destroyed the local biodiversity. And police have to use tear gas. The armed force have to use tear gas to like stop people protesting and stuff. And people are saying there aren't enough locals being employed in the mine. Blah blah blah. A lot of similar problems around the world, of course, with that kind of topic. But yeah, this is interesting. I just hadn't seen a mine set up like this before. This mine is owned 80% by Rio Tinto and 20% by the Madagascar government. That's my understanding. Look at that. This is very interesting. Like, what is this? It's like something from Star Wars. I thought that was kind of cool. Apparently, this is important for titanium dioxide production. The uh, the actual I did have the actual company site open where Rio Tinto mine, something like lemonite, il ilmenite. Never heard of it. A major source of titanium dioxide, which I'm assuming is useful for titanium, but I'm not going to pretend to know that. It's just yeah, an interesting mine. Loads of stories, and there again a picture of the very cool facilities that are there. A bit here about the mine as well, and talking about like different issues that they had with setting it up. But either way, it's a big part of their economy. That's the main reason I'm talking about it. But when I hear that there's also controversy, I like to mention it too, just to make sure I'm covering all the stories. This is a palace in the capital. Um, the Queen's Palace, I think, is what it's called now. We do have some cool Google Map uh, images here. Look at the city. That's the city again. Viviro, that's how you pronounce it. And behind us we have the castle. Um, Finding it a bit hard to turn us around here now. Can we get up? We can. Look at that. Very cool castle. But it's kind of empty now. There's nothing in the actual inside of it. We have a different image from this side. Yeah, it's very, very cool. Nice tourist spot there for the locals and the tourists as well. We can close that one. These were, yeah, some more interesting mines. This one was interesting. There was a kind of a picture that came up. Yeah, look at that. Can we open that bigger? It would be nice if we could expand that. Yes, we can. Look at that, all the different types of rocks. I'm assuming that's available for sale. That isn't actually being mined locally, but I thought that was kind of cool. Nice little image there. We have another interesting mine. That's the Rio Tinto one again. We can close that. This was a sapphire mine once, apparently. Couldn't find any more information. Sapphire mines and gems. Don't know if it's still active. I didn't see any people around there, so I don't think so. This was another big mine in the middle of nowhere. Let's close that a bit. Just very cool pictures again. A lot of facilities in that one, but we won't dwell on that one too long because I actually want to show you. Well, actually, there are a few images over here which are pretty cool. Look at that beautiful colors there. Again, it's just the geography of the place I want to show you. Now, I don't know is that a place that looks naturally like that, or is the mining done that to the area? But yeah, a bit interesting. I actually want to show you the oil fields. Now, there isn't a huge amount of oil production in the country, even though petroleum is listed under the economy exports, petroleum products Yeah, doesn't say specifically what or from where, but we'll look at that in a minute. Here's an oil field all the same, quite in the west, but also quite central location. They actually have their own airfield to fly in and out of here, which kind of makes sense, especially if they're bringing in foreign workers to work on the oil production, or if they're bringing in people from the capital or whatever. You're going to need to fly people in. I couldn't find the actual derricks where the oil's being pumped from. Sometimes you're able to see them. I was able to see it in my Libya video quite easily. But yeah, that seems to be an oil field there. Let's just jump over in a minute now. I think we can jump over to the indicators. I want to show you again here. That's the river we were following. That's the capital. Great map there from Enchanted Learning. Let's close that. That's the volcano that I wanted to show you. But again, really, okay, it looks quite good there. But from the maps, it really wasn't as half as interesting. But yeah, that's also worth mentioning because that's a really tall volcano, 2,800 meters. Pretty interesting. Yeah, a little bit about the history from the French colonization and stuff like that. So when the French colonized it, later in World War II, of course, France got occupied by the Nazis, and it was Vichy France who were also still involved in Madagascar, and there was a battle between Vichy France forces and Allied forces in the Battle of Madagascar. Yeah, also World War One, the Madagascar plan in World War Two. There's Battle of Madagascar, Vichy France, Allied. Yeah, just something that is kind of interesting. And after the war, basically the prestige of France in Madagascar kind of fell, which led to the independence movement and yeah, eventually provisional government and a full independence in 1960. And they've had some economic issues since then, but yeah, just good to mention that part of the history, I thought. Demographics, perfect pyramid again. Didn't actually get a fertility rate on this one, but you can see that's a really pretty big increase. Population growth 2.3% basically, so doing all right in the population side of things. Let's just jump over to the normal indicators and then we'll finish up. Madagascar, 53rd most fragile country in the world. In terms of the energy, let's jump into here for a minute and see. Yeah, a little bit on the petroleum consumption. Doesn't talk about production though, even though we saw that oil field, which is interesting. A bit of coal consumption, a little bit renewable production. Don't know what that is though, didn't check. Might be hydro. Nothing on the electricity, doing business rankings, 160, it's pretty bad. 58, which is partly free. And yeah, the others were like inflation. Inflation is 7%, which isn't that great at the moment. Hopefully that'll come down for them. Yeah, other things like that. Let's look at quick at this. Oh yeah, climate change data. So a lot of in the news articles that I just scanned through, it seems like there will be climate change issues for the country. A lot of coastal flooding to be expected, but I think a lot of these regions are already kind of swampy, so it mightn't be such a big deal. Definitely more on the west side than on the east side. The east side looks pretty robust there. Not a lot of red at all, but yeah, definitely the west side, large pieces of red there. So hopefully not too many people live there. When we look at the population data, population density, all the people living in the capital basically. And on the east side is a lot more tropical than the west side. So yeah, you see these places aren't so densely populated. So hopefully that climate change issue. There is a city there now that could be a problem. If we were to quickly just look at that, yeah, that looks like it'll be red. So that could be an issue, but plenty of space to move inland, of course. There's Mayotte, the French island as well, quite close. And when we look at the submarine cables, we see Mayotte, which I'm probably pronouncing wrong. I think someone said that in a comment before. But anyway, Mayotte is connected to these cables, but also Madagascar connected to a lot of these subsea cables for internet and other various things. Also those islands there as well. Okay, I think that's everything I wanted to cover in the video. Basically, the main takeaway for me was just the extreme beauty of the place explored from maps. Okay, maybe not the mines, but other places, that river network, the mountains, the forests, really something quite special.